Greetings, Exiles. The new league is about to start, and that means it's time to choose a league starter. I don't know about you, but I've already made my choice, and it's Cold Blade VORTEX Occultist. Now let's talk about why I chose this particular build, its strengths and weaknesses, and what it can do. So watch this video to the end. Maybe this is the build you've been looking for. Or another bait build. Who knows? I will start my video with why I chose the Cold Blade VORTEX. The answer to this question is very simple. It's a good skill that has quite a lot of damage, even with mediocre gear, which is very important at the beginning of a new league, and at the same time Blade VORTEX scales very well in the late game and you can easily get 20 or more millions DPS with it. But what really makes this build a good starter is Occultist, specifically her explosions. Profane Bloom is one of the best sources of explosions in the game, which we get for free and is available to us after completing the axe. Profane Bloom easily carries us through all white, yellow, and early red maps. At the same time, we do not need expensive equipment. Now on your screen you see a small showcase of what this build can do with 4 links and basic items. These explosions are just beautiful, isn't it? As you can see for yourself, we kill a lot of monsters very quickly and efficiently, and our Atlas progression will be fast and efficient. However, at this stage our single target damage is quite low, but that's where the Vol version comes. Also, Vol Blade VORTEX will be useful for quickly destroying a large number of monsters. Boom, and there's no monsters from the expedition. Another strong side of this build is its flexibility. Let's look at it with the auras that I use. These are Determination, Hatred, Tempest Shield, and Herald of Ash. We also use Eldritch Battery, and that means that with Divine Blessing support we can activate an additional aura, and it will be Haste. I think it's a pretty balanced combination between defense auras and damage. Speaking of which, we can activate all of these auras right after the campaign, and you don't need expensive items or clusters to do so. But for example, if you want to get more damage, you can change Haste to Zealotry and get more damage. And if you're a fan of the Cast on Death Portal combination, you can go even further and replace Tempest Shield with Herald of Purity. And if you feel that you lack defense and die a lot, you can replace Hatred with Grace and add Hatred with Divine Blessing support. As you can see, you can slightly modify the build to suit your playstyle, and it's really nice to have different options. Now let's talk about the items we will need. Here I will focus on what gear you need to buy first, as well as the order of upgrades. I hope that this will help those of you who also want to try this build, and you will be able to understand what you need and how to scale this build. First of all, we need 2 unique items, Crimsorrow and Mark of Submission, and the sooner we buy them the better. Crimsorrow allow us to easily convert 100% physical damage to cold damage. And Mark of Submission gives us Curse on hit and allows us to get those wonderful explosions with minimum effort. I want to reassure those of you who are worried that my starting build requires 2 unique items. These are T5 items, and they are very common, and even on the first day of the league they will cost a few Chaos Orbs, and buying them will not be difficult for most players. The pricing for these items could of course be much higher if some YouTuber made a video about this build. But I don't think that will happen. No one will make a video about this build, and it will definitely not be a meta skill. For sure. These 2 unique items and 4 links are all you need for white and yellow maps. It is also worth paying attention to such a unique weapon as the Princess. Some of my viewers may be surprised by this advice, but in fact this cheap weapon boosts our build very well and is a good choice at the beginning. The alternative is any rare weapon with +1 to level of all physical skill gems. The next step is to buy 5 links. You will need an armor energy shield base because we use Eldritch Battery and we need a lot of energy shield. Doriani's Invitation with cold damage is another important purchase. It is not mandatory, but it greatly improves the quality of life because we need a source of life leech for life sustain. Also, this belt has other quite useful characteristics for us. Devoto's Devotion. This choice may surprise you because this helmet reduces our damage, but it is a minor reduction and in return we get quite useful stats. First and foremost is Dexterity. And to be honest, Dexterity is a big problem for this build and you will constantly lack it, but thanks to Devoto's Devotion we can easily solve this problem. Also, this helmet gives us chaos resistance, movement speed, and armor with evasion. And this will be very useful at the beginning of the league. Also, at this stage you will need some good boots and shield with spell suppression, life, and resistances. After you buy all these items, you will need to save up some currency and move on to the next stage. First of all, you need to buy a Heat Shiver. Despite the fact that this unique helmet was nerfed in the last patch, it is still very good for us, and due to the nerf its cost is much lower than before, and at the beginning of the league Heat Shiver will be more affordable for most players. Since this will be a power charges stacker build, Void Battery is the best and slot weapon for us. Unfortunately, in the early days this unique item will be expensive, but if you have the chance to buy it as early as possible, this will greatly increase our damage. And of course 6 links, which will make red maps farming much easier. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Corrupted Hrimsorrow with elemental weakness on hit. Thanks to these gloves we can replace Mark of Submission with something useful. Toss out this garbage and add the best ring in the game. That's so much better, isn't it? With this setup we have about 1.5 million DPS and 2.2 million DPS with Vol Blade Vortex. Now let's see what the build can do with all these upgrades. Overall pretty good, and I'm personally happy with the result. You can easily do Legion and Expedition and earn a lot of currency at the beginning of the league because these are very good mechanics with good rewards. I want to give you some advice. Don't be greedy. For T16 maps you need defense because you have enough damage. So I recommend you to use Determination, Grace, Tempest Shield, Herald of Ash, and Hatred with Divine Blessing. With these auras your survivability will be pretty good, as for the beginning of the league. Also, don't forget about spell suppression on your gear. If you want more information about this build, make sure to check out my POB. There is a lot of useful information there. You can find the link in the description of this video. And if you have any questions, join my Discord channel. The link you will find in the description of this video. I was also planning to talk about my starting atlas, but since the developers have changed it significantly in the new league, I frankly don't know what it will be like. Most likely, as I said earlier, Legion and Expedition are still good mechanics for stable currency earning, especially at the beginning of the league. So my atlas will probably look like this, but maybe I'll change something in the process. Because at the moment we don't have complete information and it's hard to say what will be good and what will be a big bait. As to how I further plan to progress my character, this is where the flexibility of the build comes into play again. You can go further with Power Charges Stacker and increase our damage by 10 times and make a quick build for T16 map farming with Legion and Semi-Magic Find. You can try the classic variant with a spell bow, and after you accumulate currency and buy a headhunter you can switch to 100% delirium maps. Or make full magic find build. But at the moment I find it hard to say what I will choose in the end. And most likely you will see my choice in 0 to Hero. And at the end a couple of words about leveling. We can use Blade Vortex from level 38 when we have access to Unleash. Probably many of you think that Blade Vortex is a bad skill, but it's not really true. It's certainly not a choice for speedrun, but you won't have any problems with the campaign because even in axe we have good damage. I did some test runs and it was quite an enjoyable experience, and the axe can be completed in 5 hours, which is quite an acceptable result for me. This is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Thank you all for watching and commenting. I appreciate it. Also, I will be very grateful for your likes, subscriptions. Bye everyone, and see you in new videos.